passed away, and his wife, the date of his birth, the date of his death, and left it blank. Well, it was several years later, this lady was walking through the tombstone, through the cemetery. The little girl was with her daughter, and she walked up to his cemetery, to his tombstone, and she said, "Mama, that's odd." All right, got your Bible? We're real spiritual now. Turn to Luke chapter 18. Luke chapter 18. There's nothing like getting real spiritual before you preach the word. Amen. Luke chapter 18. You pray for us this evening as we look at a few of these verses and just see what the Lord shows us here in the text. Luke chapter 18. Look at verse number 9. This is Jesus speaking the parable he's talking about here. And he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. Now, he's speaking to these Pharisees who sort of kind of look down their nose at everybody else. They've sort of gotten to a plateau. They don't seem to think nobody else is up there with them. So they just sort of look down at everyone else. They have this mentality, man, we finally got up here, now that we're up here, we're all by ourselves. No one seems to be up here with us. We seem to be above everybody. Well, that's who the Lord is speaking this parable to in Luke 18, in verse 9. Then he says to him in verse number 10, 2 men went up into the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee and the other a publican. Now again, these Pharisees in Jesus' day were morally and they were outwardly in a class to themselves. As I said, they just felt like they had attained, and no one could compare to them. They believed it was possible for a man to become righteous by keeping God's law and work his way to heaven, which we understand to be utterly impossible.
Amen. Right.
Now the publican, he was a Jew, and this Jew became a Roman tax collector. Now, becoming a tax collector, he had went as low as he could go. There was no lower trade that a Jew could take than a publican to become a Roman tax collector. He became a sinner as low as they come. He's a publican. When he became a tax collector for the Roman government, he denied his nation, which made him guilty of denying his religion.
Yes, sir.
In essence, he turned his back on God. And he took a one-way street with no intentions of ever returning to God again. He became a publican, a Roman tax collector. He did it for money. Yet this one in our text, he longed for true satisfaction, as we'll understand. So now we find both these men, Pharisee and the publican, in the house of God at the time of prayer. Understand what we're seeing now. We're seeing a Pharisee and we're seeing a publican, and they both come to the house of God at the time of prayer. Turn over here to verse number 11. And the Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I'm not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I possess. I want you to notice something about this Pharisee. It's a very good possibility that he began his prayer with his eyes closed, like we do often. We close our eyes to get our focus and our attention on God. Very possible the old Pharisee started out praying like that, with his head bowed and his eyes closed. But it's obvious it wasn't long until he began to open his eyes and look around in the house of God. And according to the text, it wasn't long until he saw a bunch in the house of God with their heads bowed and their eyes closed. And Mr. Pharisee knew their lifestyle.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Hello? He's standing in the audience now. And he knows them. He knows how they live in society. So here's what he started doing. He started calling their number.
Go ahead, preacher.
Verbally, praying aloud, calling their number. Now can't you just see these folks as they begin to blush? I guarantee you some of them started trembling with fear.
Yep.
Scared to death that old Mr. Pharisee was going to start calling names. Hello.
Yeah.
I mean, he's looking now. He's calling it out. I'm telling you. Brother, Mr. Pharisee had been reading somebody's mail. Amen. And these began to squirm where they were standing or where they were sitting. And as they began to squirm, old Mr. Pharisee would shoot them with his prayer. If they wiggled, he shot them. Amen. He's got his eyes on them.
Yes, sir.
He knows them. Then all of a sudden he looked around and saw this old publican there in the house of God. Prompted him to say, thank God I'm not like him. He's beyond help. He sold himself to the devil. He's become a Roman tax collector. Now you got to agree with me, that's quite a prayer on Mr. Pharisee's praying here. Now, he's praying quite a prayer.
Yes, sir.
Amen. Now, look at the text again here, verse 13. And the publican standing afar off would not lift up so much his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. Now look at what Jesus said in verse 14.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I tell you, this man went down to his house justified
Yes, sir.
rather than the other.
Amen.
Everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted.
Yes, sir.
I want to look at the man rather than the other. I want us to look at Mr. Pharisee here. I want to focus on the other man. The one Jesus says here, rather than the other. I want to focus on him. And I want to use him for the subject tonight. A good man in hell. A good man
Yep.
in hell.
Yes, sir. Right.
Now this subject of a good man in hell is almost contrary to all human thinking. You shall understand. Well, most folk think that all good people are going to heaven, while all naughty people are going to hell. That's the mentality of a lot of people today. Bad people are going to hell. Good people are going to heaven, and all bad people are going to hell. But seeing that God's ways are not our ways.
That's right. Right.
Seeing that his thoughts are not our thoughts. You know what he does here in this text? He drops a bomb on all such thinking by saying in our text that it is possible for men who were once bad to make it to heaven, while those who are good continue their way to hell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Preach on.
Amen.
Preach. Yep, preach.
Among the visible church, there's a mixture of good and bad. Within every visible assembly, there are some who are saved by the grace of God, and there are some who aren't.
That's right.
We call it Christendom,
Yep.
Right.
the visible church. In the visible church, we'll always have our Cains and our Abels. We'll have those who God will respect their worship, and we'll have those that God will not recognize or He will reject their worship. People are sometimes seen in the worship service that we fear will not be seen in heaven. There are two attitudes a person can attend church with. The attitude, I've got everything that I need, I'm all right, I'm as good or as better than anybody else in the assembly, I don't need anything from God. But if by chance you come in such an attitude, unless God has mercy on you and breaks that old prideful spirit, you'll receive nothing and you'll leave the same way you come.
Amen.
Right.
Right.
But if you come today realizing your imperfections and your shortcomings, feeling that you have a need, then you can leave and be
Yes, sir.
blessed.
Amen.
In our text, see the shocking possibility of a good man going to hell.
Right.
The Pharisee was a good man. Listen, he's obviously a good man. I won't even have to stand up here and work up a sweat this evening to prove to you that he is a good man. The Bible says in verse 11, look at it, he could thank God that he was not an extortioner. He could look God in the face and say, I shall thank you, God, I'm not an extortioner. One who seizes or carries off another's property, either by strength or by secrecy. You know what an extortioner is? He's classified as a robber. Or just a swindler. The Pharisee would have never misrepresented his product. Listen, if you'd bought a box of cornflakes from Mr. Pharisee, if you went down to his general store and bought you a bag of coffee or a pound of sugar from him, you didn't have to worry about any shavings being in your cornflakes or sawdust in your coffee or sand in your sugar. No. He wasn't an extortioner. He wasn't a swindler. He wouldn't have to beat anybody out of anything. When he weighed out a pound, I guarantee you didn't have to check behind it. It would have been 16 ounces.
Right.
He sold you a yard of material. You wouldn't have to measure it. He'd have made sure that it was 36 inches. I'm telling you, when he paid an employee, he gave that employee an honest day's work. If you hired him to do a job for you, he would not beat the clock.
Right.
And hid from the supervisor. He'd have gave you that honest day's work. He'd have never hid from the supervisor or goofed off on company time. He was not an extortioner. He wasn't a swindler.
Right.
The Bible says this man could look back over his life and not one person come to mind that he had stolen from. I told you I would have to work up a sweat to prove to you he's a good man. Look back over his life and not one person come to his mind that he had ever taken anything wrongfully from. He wasn't ashamed to meet anyone that he had ever dealt with on the street. He never had to cross the street. He owed no one an apology. He could honestly say, I've done to others I would have them to do unto me. I ask this question. Could any of us in this assembly this evening, could any of us in the parking lot, could any of us listening by way of live stream, could any of us make that boast? Think about it. Has there ever been a time when we were not completely honest in our affairs? Have we always been faithful in our speech? Have we always treated others like we would have liked for them to have treated us? Have we always given an employer an honest day's work? Never once goofing off. Never once beating the clock. Never once hiding from the supervisor. Have we never taken anything from our employer that didn't belong to us? Has there ever been anybody we didn't take anything? Has there ever been a time we didn't take anything that didn't belong to us from anybody? From the time we was born to now. Can any of us truthfully say that in all our dealings with people, we have not one thing to be ashamed of? Very doubtful that any of us, including myself, could make such a statement. Yet Mr. Pharisee in our text could. He could make that statement. I'm telling you, this man had absolute integrity. And according to the testimony of the Lord, everyone in his community would have highly respected and trusted Mr. Pharisee. I mean, when you see Mr. Pharisee coming down the street, I'm talking about dads, and I'm talking about moms stopping and saying, oh, Lord, I just hope and pray that my children will grow up and be like Mr. Pharisee.
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Yes, sir. I mean, he's a fine, outstanding person, Mr. Pharisee is. He's not got the reputation of taking anything from anybody. Oh, he's an outstanding citizen in the community. I want my children to grow up and be like Mr. Pharisee. Some parents think their children can go to heaven if they just obtain a good reputation before citizens in their community.
You're right.
Ladies and gentlemen, our children can be elected homecoming queens. They can be nominated athlete of the year. They can be voted on the most likely to succeed and still miss heaven and wind up in hell.
Right.
We've got to get our priorities in order.
Amen. Amen.
No one is saved by what others think of them, but rather what God sees in them.
Yeah, preacher.
I'm telling you, God don't see the blood of His Son upon the soul of a man who ain't saved. I don't care how good his reputation is in society.
Right.
Amen. I'm telling you, one's reputation may fool others, but it'll never fool God.
Right.
The good man of our text had a great reputation. But even with such a reputation, it was not enough to keep him out of hell. For your Bible says he left the house of God unsaved, not justified, traveling toward a gracious eternity. Yet he was a good man. The Bible says, look at verse 11, that he could also thank God that he was not unjust. Look at him. He can honestly say that his life revealed that he wasn't a treacherous or an evil person to be around. He would never willfully mislead you. He would never willfully deceive you. He was unjust. He could be trusted to coach your child's ball team. He could be trusted to lead a youth out, drive a school bus. You could even trust him to be a counselor at summer camp. He would never have a perverted thought toward your daughter or your son. Never. He didn't think that way. He was unjust. But even though he was said to be reliable, and even though it is said of him that he was trustworthy and honest, he still come and left the house of God unsaved.
Yeah.
Right.
And on his way to a devil's hell.
Right.
It gets better. The Bible says in verse 11 that he could thank God that he was not an adulterer. This man could look up toward the face of God Almighty and say, God, I'm thankful that I have never engaged in the act of adultery physically. But not only that, I've never looked upon another woman and lusted for her in my heart. What a boast.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Jesus said if a man looketh upon a woman and lusted for her in his heart, he's already committed adultery with her.
Right.
Right.
Amen. That's the reason why and listen, there again, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to live their life. Don't you take me wrong. But that's the reason why I can't go around the ocean in the summertime.
Right.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Amen.
Somebody told me one time, well, preacher, you see, I can go down there and see God out there in that ocean. Well, I can too.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, when they come around in two-piece bikinis, they mess my vision up.
Yes.
Hello? Some stuff said, I'm more pious than that. Ladies, take his pulse and make sure he's still living. Hello?
Yeah. Right.
Man told me one, don't bother me, check his pulse.
Yeah.
Check his pulse.
Yeah.
Right. He likes it.
But Mr. Paris, he said, I've never committed adultery. You see, as far as this old dirty world adulterers, the good men of our text was innocent. Now you gotta agree with all the rottenness that's loose in this world today, with all the billions of dollars that you spend on pornography and drugs and dirty movies and filthy books, coupled with the immodest attire that is worn by men and women.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many truthfully could stand up and look God in the face and say, God, I am thankful that I've never had a dirty thought concerning the opposite sex. Think about it. But even if we can't truthfully say that, even if we can't truthfully make such a statement, the good men of our text could. But he's still on his way to hell.
Right.
The fact is, one may be pure, morally sound, may keep his mind out of the gutter and have no time for the filth of this world, and still be en route to a devil's hell.
Right.
For the good man of our text was morally sound. Are you getting this? Morally sound.
Yes, sir, preacher.
Yet he was hell bound. The Bible says in verse 12 that he could thankfully say that he fasted twice a week. Look at it. 2 days out of every week, he would abstain from eating food. He would deprive his flesh of what it desired 2 days a week in hope of gaining recognition from God. Fast 2 times a week. The Bible says in verse 12 that he could also say, truthfully, he could also say that he gave tithes on all that he possessed. He brought 1/10 of what he was worth and he put it in the offering plate on the Lord's day.
Right.
I mean, the good man of our text could honestly look God in the face and say, God, I am thankful that I am not like some who refuse to pay their tithe.
Right.
God, I'm glad I'm not like some who think the church can operate on $40 a year.
Yeah.
I
Right.
pastor people like that.
Well,
$40 a year. I don't even think a woman or a man saved that wouldn't give no more $40 a year.
right. Amen.
Told the treasurer one time, dear Lord, it costs more to put a stamp on it and they get off their income taxes.
Yeah,
Send it back to them.
that's right.
But you'd be surprised sometime how church leadership will take up for that crowd that don't give them $40 a year.
Right.
Sir.
Right.
They saw that crowd run the preacher off. Keep the one that's giving $40 a year.
Preach.
Hello!
Right.
Hope you're watching tonight the web live stream. Amen.
Tell it, preacher.
Mr. Pharisee said, I'm not like that crowd. I'm glad that I can say truthfully I bring my tithe down to the house of God. Now let me sum it up like this and say, if you take this man right here that I'm talking to you about, and you stand him before the average Baptist church of our day, and let the pastor open the church door and say, folk, we've got a man standing here before us. This man's as clean as a hound's tooth. He's as honest as the day is long. He's got a great reputation in the community. He fasts twice a week. He pays his tithes. He loves to pray. He loves to pray. He loves to come to church and pray. And the pastor says to the congregation, he's just all in all a good man, and he desires to unite with us. All in favor? Give me a hearty amen. Give me a hearty aye. 95% of the congregation to vote this man in without one vote of opposition. Do you know why? Because his record is better than the average church member.
Right. Right.
Who's going to vote against him?
Yeah.
He's got better church attendance. He's tithing. He's praying. He's fasting.
Sure.
He's morally sound.
Right.
He's got a better record than some churchmen. I never pastored this man because he never joined. Because I preached to him about 19 years, he stayed lost. He's lost when I started preaching to him. He's lost when I stopped preaching to him. 19, probably of the 22 years that I was at this place, I preached to this man. Lost. A good man. He'd help me do anything that needed to be done. Just call him. He brought me stuff out of the garden. Shared meat with us. Good man. Good man. Faithful to church. He come Wednesday night. He come Sunday morning. He come Sunday night. He tithed. He did. He tithed. I'm telling you something. The man had a better record than some who claim to be saved members of that church for 25 years. And the man didn't even know God.
Right.
Tell it, preacher.
Now I'll tell you something. I don't know that I can sleep tonight if I thought a lost man had a better track record than me.
Good
Right.
preach. Right.
Right.
I don't know how people can sleep at night and claim to be saved
Right.
when a man who's not saved has got a better record than me.
Right.
Kill it, dog.
Right.
Kill it.
Something adding up.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pharisee, can we take him in as a member? Sure we can. Sure we can. Can't vote against him. His record's better than mine. So we take him in. We give him the right hand of fellowship. And he leaves the church. And then God thunders from our text, hold it just a minute. He's unjustified. He's unsaved. Yes, he's a good man, but he's still on his way to hell. What you have done, you have put a lost man on your church roll.
Right.
He's lost. He's going to hell. And now you've made him think he's okay.
Right. Yeah.
It happens every single Sunday, every single Wednesday somewhere.
Yes, sir.
We have stuffed our church roll